What's up, Jason? And welcome everyone to the Preaching Lab.
What's up, my friend? How are you, brother?
And I'm living the dream.
There you go. I
I
like it.
just I
I
just
like it when you steal
just
my
got back.
lines.
Yeah, I got beat you to it there. I I just celebrated 25-year anniversary with my wife. We just
Hey,
got back. We went out of town for a couple nights and we just got back. So 25 years, it feels like a big one.
that is a big one. Jessica and I will have 25 next year. So you beat us by a year. So we'll have 25 next year, and then maybe we can have as much fun as you guys did. What I saw you guys went out. Did y'all do hot springs? What did y'all do?
Yeah, we went. There's a bed and breakfast, 1890 Williams House that I don't
Yeah,
know, this is probably our fourth time to go over the years, and we like it. And so we got our favorite room there and just hung out.
that's awesome.
It's good.
Congratulations, Adam. Congratulations, Crystal. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The Lord has been kind for now. I mean, for a quarter of a century that you would have someone who's willing to live with you and stay married to you and all of those
Yeah.
things.
I don't know what she did to be punished by God like she is, but
She's
you
being
know,
refined as if by
she is.
fire.
Do us pastors need to suck it up more and not be so whiny? So are you saying, Jason,
Mm.
that we as pastors can tend to be a little whiny? So let's talk about that today. Is that true?
I had a feeling with you and your counseling, indulgences and involvement that this would probably pique your interest more than even the others. And the bottom line is, I think we can be. I think we as pastors, whether we intend it or not, I think we can be very sensitive to situations and to things that happen in the local church and in and around maybe our town's culture, even social media, that can tend to cause us to seem very self-pity. I liked you dressed it up a little bit, and I prefer that. Like our temptation to self-pity, I think, is high. Would you agree
Mhm.
or disagree with me?
Yeah, because the reason I picked this and I thought it was a good subject because I do feel like I've struggled with that in the past, and I don't know that it would classify as much as self pity of just wanting to prove to others that my job is hard, uh,
Yeah.
and that it's difficult. And I think I think we do have a tendency to do this because the pastor's job is really unique, and I think it's easy for us to kind of think, well, people don't really see what I do. Or they think, I've got a friend, Doc Baird, as I like to call him, that loves to troll me every time we hang out. He loves to just get me going by throwing out there, what's it like to just work 1 hour a week? Um, and I do think that there's these voices that we hear of people not understanding what we do and and feeling like we almost have to be defensive about, no, we work every day and there's lots of stuff that we do. And I know that I've struggled with that in the past. I've really gotten away from it, thankfully, but that kind of just being in this self-defense mode of, hey, it really is a what I do is hard. It's not just standing in a pulpit for an hour. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's some of that. I think it's also real that there is a stereotype that pastors don't do a lot, and I think we get defensive. I had an older man once tell me that when he was younger, he was insinuating that his mind had changed on this, but when he was younger, he said that he always thought that there were two professions that people went into when they really didn't want to do anything. One was police work, and the other was pastoral ministry, and that was his kind of view of it. I think that's also why you've seen so many guys work the way they have in pastoral ministry. Maybe even sometimes to the detriment of of their families or their, other relationships because they feel like they have to justify their work output because as you mentioned, when people only see you perform, for lack of a better word, but perform your job, perform your what they perceive to be your main task, once a week, twice a week, you know. Maybe when preachers were preaching 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesdays, maybe there wasn't as much of a debate about it, but with the way things are now, um, tell me, I would assume the population or the percentage of churches that have Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night churches is probably where the guy, the lead pastor is doing all the teaching. Um, and hey, let us know, like if you do have a church where either you, the pastor, are teaching at least 3 times a week or something like that. I'd love to know, and not like multiple service stuff. But just like, different services, different lessons where you're still doing that. I think that would be helpful too, because I mean, that was me for the first 10, 15 years of pastoral ministry. Uh, you know, I had those expectations and those, on me, so I get it. But, no, and I think I'll throw this one out there. What about, like, kind of the popular meme? It's gone around some lately where, the comment is, uh, something about, "Hey, please, when you text your pastor to say that you want to talk to him about something, kind of give him some more detail than, 'Hey, I'd like to meet with you.'" And as pastors, we all know, that scenario where we feel like we get blindsided in a conversation where we totally weren't, and we commiserate over that, or we tend to have, like, a self-pitying kind of attitude of, "Can't you respect me enough to tell me something like that?" And I wonder if that's another thing that's, like, just kind of us being way too sensitive and way too, um, protective of ourselves. I don't know, what again, I'm just kind of exploring. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think there is this invisible burden that we carry as pastors that no one else knows about. That there is a spiritual burden to our job. There is a worry over the sheep that occupies our mind, and there's fears that we occupy that occupy our mind. And I think because the factory worker goes to his job, and he comes home, has got grease head to toe, and yeah, look, that guy's been working all day. Where a lot of, I think, our burdens are invisible, and so I think there is a tendency in us to try to make visible that invisible burden to let people understand kind of what we're going through. And I think what I've come to understand is this: it's impossible. Like, I can talk about it
Yeah,
and say, "Oh yeah, pastoring's really hard. There's a burden I carry for the people. I have sleepless nights when there's church issues." But they're just not going to get it no more than I can get what it's like to work out in the sun all day right now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's just there's an impossibility. Like, to me, there is no tired like after preaching tired. There is a
mm,
deep tiredness that comes over me on Sunday. Is this message that I've uh built on all week, and then it culminates into this Sunday morning message, and I just feel totally drained the rest of the day. But like, how dumb is it for me to go, to that guy that maybe works out in the sun all day or does this or that? Is like, well, let me tell you what's really tired. It's preaching tired. I can explain that all day, but he's never going to get that, and I'm not
man,
no more than I
I
can
am
really get.
emotionally drained right now.
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's a legit tired, like, it really is a physical tiredness, but it's just unexplainable. So, like, talk to your pastor friends about it. We all know that burden, and so I think we need to be careful, and not just appear like we're whiny. Um, so I think sometimes it's just that trying to make those invisible burdens visible, and I just don't think it's possible or it's even helpful.
Yeah, when do you it's kinda like in marriage, when you kinda feel yourself drifting in that direction of, "Man, she really just doesn't appreciate me or she doesn't value me." Do you could kinda feel yourself going in that way, can't you? Where you're just like, Man, they just don't understand." Like, whether it's a smart remark from a friend or even a church member that's like, that you may totally even take their comment the wrong way. Like, "So what'd you do today?" And you automatically get defensive and you're like, "Well, what are you saying I didn't do you not think I did anything today?" I mean, instead of just maybe they just want to know what your day's like. Maybe they're again, because they are so unfamiliar with what pastors do, like, what do you do? We're so prone to be defensive that we don't even realize that maybe we're coming across as as being, unwilling or at least nervous.
Yeah, yeah. I had somebody, and it was very helpful. And I've thought about it. I mean, this happened 13, 14 years ago. Is when my year long view of a call here at Wyatt when they were deciding if I was going to do the preaching from here on out, and so there was a lot of things going on in my head. I remember one day I took a picture of all these commentaries out on my desk, and I can't remember it back. It was back on Facebook when you posted a lot of thoughts that came to your head. But I was just like studying for whatever Genesis such and such today. Man, it's really hard. I can't remember what I said,
Yeah.
but I got a text about 3 minutes later from a church member that said and it's a very close friend and someone who was fully in my corner wanting me to take over the preaching at Wyatt. So it was meant to be very constructive. He said, it's unbecoming for a man to publicly complain about the difficulty of his job.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. Delete. And really since that day, I really have tried to be careful because I knew that I was kind of caught up in that, like, hey, look, I work hard. And you know, little truths like that people drop on you are really helpful.
That's incredibly helpful too. And I'm glad you kinda received it in the spirit that it was given, because I think that makes it even because I think that's another assumption, right? That we're so prone to assuming just negative, uh, things, right? Either about ourselves or about others, and to kind of which just all the more kind of falls into the self-pity category, the "woe is me," whatever you mean, because then that begins to and I like what you talked about here a little bit as we were kind of thinking through this. You talk about it becomes our identity, right? That our, that this work, that this job, that this, all the things that I do become my identity. And once something becomes your identity, I mean, there's another ID word that sounds like, and that's idolatry, right? And so
Hmm.
when people start kind of criticizing you, that that becomes personal real quick, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So how do
uh
we fight that? What do we do to kind of keep ourselves from falling into that?
well, as someone who's been at the same church for 26 years, I just see a lot of benefit in just patiently showing people who you are and what you do, that there's always going to be a moment when that naysayer suddenly has the worst day of their life. And as the pastor, you come right alongside them and you walk with them, or on the day when they're laying that loved one to rest, and you kind of, as the pastor, they don't have to think about anything that day other than just doing their things, because you're making sure everything is taken care of, making sure the family's fed and all that they're going to have that surgery that requires you to get up at 4 a.m. and to drive to Little Rock to be there. Then they're gonna just over the years slowly go, oh, okay. So so sometimes this job requires getting up at 4 a.m. and driving to be here just to pray for me before my surgery. And so I think just being patient, just realizing that if you do have a good work ethic, if you're a hardworking pastor, you will have opportunity to show that. Talk is cheap. It's like my friend said, it's unbecoming to talk about the difficulty of your job. Show them the difficulty of your job by just doing it. Does that make
So what I
sense?
hear you saying is pray imprecatory prayers on your people, so then you get to do things for them. Is that
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Lord,
So
may
let
they have a surgery come up so I can
yeah,
show them my
that's
love
right.
for them. Yeah, that's
That's
good. I
right.
like it.
That's
I
right.
like it.
So we do know a lot of what Paul suffered. We know most of the beatings that he endured. We know a lot of the derision of the people that talked bad about Paul. Paul was pretty open about the suffering he was going through. So how do we kind of job those two things that we're telling people be careful not to be too whiny. And then you look at the Apostle Paul, who seemed to kind of wear his emotions and his struggles with other people on his sleeve. How do we kind of
Well, I
connect
think,
those?
specifically when he kinda lists all those things in Second Corinthians, I don't think he's doing so to kind of he's definitely not whining to the church, right? I mean, he's not kind of saying to the church, um, "How dare you?" And more than anything else, he's kinda saying, like, "Look, you're kinda flirting with these super apostles. What about, just us regular old apostles who've been enduring all these hard things on your behalf? Like, don't discredit this, okay? Don't discredit these things. And how about you look and see what we have endured for you?" So I think it's kind of close to what you just said. Like, hey, here's the things that we have endured and that we're willing to endure and that we gladly endure. Paul's not whining about his endurances and things that he suffered as much as he is saying, like, look, see this is what it is. See this for what it is. This is me, um, under the conscription of a holy God, serving you in this way, and don't despise these things. Don't overlook these things because they mean something and they have a purpose. And I think that that's something that's important to communicate. Is look, just like you said, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna show up for the surgery. I'm gonna be there for the funeral. I'm gonna be there for even before and after the funeral. I'm willing to do all these things. Um, and to Paul, Paul didn't really have to endure the beatings from church people per se, um, but he was willing to endure those things on their behalf. And I think that's kind of what you're willing to show is, hey, I'm willing to do this because I think the job, so to speak, I think the calling, I think the vocation is one that merits this type of sacrifice, this type of attitude because of what we're trying to accomplish here. And there is that fine line between you know narrative and self pity. I think you got to be careful. You know, tone, tenor. Um, I think those things play a lot into it. Are you what's your motivation? Yeah, it is. It's unbecoming of a minister to brag about their work or anybody to brag about their work. But at the same time, hey, sometimes it's like, man, I'm enjoying digging into this term. Look, I mean, I can't believe that this message is requiring all this. I'm excited about. I mean, that again, I think there's what's your motivation? Where's your heart at? I think those are things that you've always got to consider and be willing to consider about yourself. What a good summary of all this is be joyful. Be a joyful pastor. Um, if you are communicating to your people either intentionally or unintentionally that they seem to be a burden to you or the work seems to be a burden, don't be shocked when they stop coming to you. They stop seeking your advice. They stop seeking your um, pastoral care because nobody wants to be seen as a burden.
Which does say, uh, do so will is it what's the verse? Just talks about willfully, not under compulsion, but
Right,
man,
right.
let people see that this is what I wanted. Because look, here's the reality. I really like pastoring most days. Most days are wonderful.
Yeah,
I mean, it's with every job. There's probably every job out there that there are when hey when it's functioning right, I really enjoy it. When there's a factory shut down where I've got to work for whatever amount of time or whatever, it gets awful. I mean, pastoring really is no different than any other job in that way. Because man, there's some days that most days there's nothing I would rather do, and there's some days I would just love a week of digging ditches to not kind of feel this spiritual burden that I'm under right now. So it's just it's it's just what it is, right? And
yeah, and then I think that's
just
good. It's like just like it
hang in
goes
there
for
when it
for
gets rough.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's just like just as it is for any vocation, so it is with any relationship or anything else. Like you and your wife are not on, you know, common ground and enjoying marriage to its full every day, every way. Like you're not. Your kids are sometimes going to frustrate you. And I think that's one of the things, right? Is like, yeah, sometimes the sheep can be frustrating. Sometimes it can be very frustrating to be an under shepherd. But they're really not your sheep. So you have to keep that in mind. They're not your sheep. You're called to be a good steward of the sheep, but they're not yours. They're Christ's. And secondly, you're not the best sheep in the world either. I mean, you've got you're still just a sheep too. Make sure you're doing it joyfully. There will come moments when it is not a joy. It is hard. It is difficult. And so I think that's why it's so important to when it is good, make sure that you remind yourself that this is really good. And although you know that could change in a heartbeat, you get a phone call, an email, a text message, and next thing you know, everything changes. But hopefully, what you realize is, hey, the Lord has called me and equipped me for these particular moments.
And sometimes I feel like pastors almost have this need to be pampered a little bit and talked like constantly talked up, you know. What is it the on what's the show Mad Men, you know, when she says you've never once thanked me and he said that's what the money's for. I mean, I do think sometimes we need to realize, hey, pastoring is a job where we get money. And the money is for the difficult times that,
Yeah,
hey, this is hard. So we know you don't want to do this for free. I tell people all the time, I do the preaching for free. It's the other stuff I take money for.
yeah, yeah,
But hey,
totally.
that's why it's a job. That's why
Yeah,
we get paid for because it's not always easy. And I don't need everyone telling me that sermon was the greatest sermon they've ever preached or I get depressed. Just give me a check so I can take care of my family.
feed my
That's a
family.
huge
That's
thing that
funny. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think we don't just go like they're paying me. They love me enough to give me a paycheck to pastor them. And so what am I even complaining about? Every job is hard.
But I mean, you do have to admit, when the October rolls around and those pastor appreciation gifts don't hit very hard, you get all up in your
Yeah.
feels though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the record,
Yeah.
I've not had a pastor appreciation in quite some time. October is my August for you. I think that's what I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's
So let me introduce a sensitive subject that I think is kind of related to this. Sabbaticals.
oh,
So
hot topic.
I want to say first off, I think sabbaticals
You're
are
pro
a
sabbatical.
great idea. I
Pro
think,
sabbatical.
yeah, I'm pro sabbatical, but I do struggle at times to feel like I'm obligated because I'm a pastor for a sabbatical. Like what do you think about that?
I think I'm pro sabbatical overall, but I don't know if I'm pro every pastor getting a sabbatical. Um, Like, when I think of guys getting sabbaticals, I think of guys that devote a lot of their attention to even things outside of the pulpit and for good, whether it's writing or um, preaching appointments outside of your normal pulpit assignments and things like that. Like, I think guys that truly are working and putting out content that benefits the body of Christ, that if their church has that understanding of like, man, hey, they really need something. Let's make sure to get it. Let's make sure they get the rest they need or the time they need to write or whatever else. Because you have an understanding that this person has other responsibility than just their pulpit ministry. Then yeah, there's probably times. And I think if your pastor's gone through a specific hard time, whether it's family related, work related, or just health related or something like that, and you want to say, hey man, why don't you take a month, take some time? We can fill the pulpit, we can do things like, okay, do that. And if you have elders or others around that can say, hey man, you've been kind of burning the candle at both ends for a while. Let's get you some time. I think that's good. But just to have this kind of like, well, I'm a pastor, I should get a sabbatical. I don't know. Maybe you should. Maybe not. I mean, like it all. I think there's a lot. I think there's more nuance to it than just, it's in the rule book. It's like baseball with its unwritten rules. It's like it's an unwritten rule.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably a good sign of a healthy church that uh, has a lot of respect for the office of pastorate, that would be very understanding of the idea of sabbatical. But just sometimes I'm like, if you from a blue collar church, trying to explain to a bunch of blue collar guys who rarely even take a day off that
Yeah,
I need a month because my job's really hard. Well, my
yeah.
job's, they can say and so I don't
I
know.
put in
It,
80
it
hours
is,
this week. I put in
yeah,
80 hours this week, preacher.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've been here at the church a while. I think there was one season that I went through that I really could have used it, and I didn't take it. But I would hope that my church would understand that if I ask for a month off, it's going to be because I really, really need a month off. That I've been in a difficult season or whatever. And so I kind of want to look at a sabbatical as not just something you're obligated to hand me, but it's more of a kind of an emergency hatch. Just to, man, I need to refocus or I have something that, hey, this is how I'm going to serve the church by thinking through this for the next 4 weeks and just focus on that. And so I just think we do need to be careful of just making sabbatical something we feel the church is obligated to give us.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I totally agree. I think it goes back to this kind of just self-pity thing where like the whole theme of this, particular podcast where it's like, are you doing it because you think you're owed it? Because, that the preacher that you like to listen to or the books you like to read talk about it. And so it's like, yeah, I need that too. It's because you're putting in the time and the effort. And if so, you've got elders or a church around you that says, hey, we recognize this and we know, man, you've been at it for a good bit now, and we wanna say, hey, we appreciate you. So, you know, go somewhere, do something else for a little bit.
Yeah. 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 And I think in talking about some of this, I meet guys all the time that complain about their job, that they talk a lot about how hard their job is and how hard they work, not pastors. So I mean, it's just part of who we are as men. And I think it comes from insecurity. I think men that are just doing their thing, they're working hard, they don't have anything to prove. Probably comes from a more healthy mind that, hey, I go to work, I do my job, I don't need to like defend my job to anyone. And so it's not just something that pastors do, but I do think we can be prone to it sometimes because we do have that defensive nature that we talked about, people saying we only work 1 hour a week kind of thing. Any other closing thoughts?
Well, I think, yeah, I'll close with this. Also, we're word people. We're word people. We are emotional people. I mean, not all pastors are equally as emotional as others and all those things, all those caveats, but I think sometimes we're also people that feel like, "Hey, we need to talk about stuff. Let's talk about it, you know? Let's not keep it in, let's talk, because talking's good." And yes, talking is good, but then there's also, like, are you talking because, "Hey, man, you're going through it, you're wanting another pastor to either hear you so they can help or respond or pray or whatever, or are you just looking to complain? Are you just looking to kinda throw some self-pity and if that's the case, then stop it. Like, stop. Um, we wanna help. We want but you've gotta draw the line between, what is for the what is for building up and what is for tearing down. And if it's for building up, then we wanna build up. We don't wanna tear down. And I think be on guard for that.
We already said it is a hard job, but I would save the discussions of the difficulty of your job with other pastors who understand
Mhm.
and take it to the Lord and just be very careful with being too complainy. I'm gonna make up a word,
I like
complainy,
it.
to just the your average people because again, we just come off as whiny, as my friend says, it's unbecoming
It's not becoming
of a
that's good.
man to be
That's good.
whiny about his job.
Yeah.
So, uh, well, thank y'all for joining us. And until next time, we're thankful that you would listen. We hope that that your lives are healthy and that your pulpits are proclaiming the word of God. And thank you for joining us today.